So a crazy theory has been going around recently about how Primus might actually be the true villain of the Shadowlands and how he has literally just been hiding in plain sight this entire time. Now, I'm not going to claim credit for this is from Wowhead, but I'd like to explain it to you guys in as simple manner as possible and also discuss it because it is actually mind-blowing when you think about it, at least mind-blowing in Shadowlands terms. It could totally explain why Zovaal seemed like such an empty shell, like such a lame villain, why the light and the void invaded the Shadowlands, and why he is the jailer because it was Primus that imprisoned Zovaal personally, meaning he was his jailer. At the moment, Zovaal's ending is as lame as it gets, but with this explanation, it just makes a whole bunch of more sense. If this really is true, it might actually be the best case scenario to salvage whatever is left of the Shadowlands lore and just not make it a complete disaster. As gamers, we spend a long time in front of screens, which can really strain your eyes. Now, GMG performance is the perfect counter to that. If you use my link in the next 48 hours of this video, you can get them at almost half the price. So check out GMG performance. Before we get into the theory full steam, I want to give you guys a few concepts to really tie all this together, which will make a ton of sense in just a bit. So, who is Primus? The leader of Aldraxis, master strategist, possibly the best in the entire universe, and the commander of the army of the Shadowlands, meant to protect death as a realm. Primus was the one that created the Lich King, Frostmourne, he invented domination magic, imprisoned Zovaal. Additionally, Primus was said to have a superpower where he can predict events before they happen, seeing all possible outcomes and choosing the best case scenario. This is pretty much like going into the future to predict lottery numbers. Now, this bit always confused me from the start. If all of this is true, what they told us, how the hell did he so easily fall into the trap of Zovaal? Like, how could he not have predicted this would happen if he has this power? Here is the exact quote Blizzard gave us on Primus. The Primus of Maldraxxus was known to be the most tactical and strategic of the Eternal Ones who ruled the realms of death. His stratagems and weaponry would prove to be infallible against his every foe. One account cites that only losses the Primus suffered were intentional, as he felt there was more to be learned in defeat than in endless series of decisive victories. So we have this, and additionally, that original cinematic of that imprisoned Anubarak looking being from the Shadowlands announcement, as well as that leaked artwork of the jailer that looks so much like Primus. So what if we have been wrong this entire time, that this wasn't scrapped, but in fact it is all to be revealed at any moment now? And why Blizzard hasn't actually revealed any of this is because it is due to spoilers, and if they told us anything about this, it would pretty much spoil the entire storyline. It would pretty much explain that the true jailer is actually Primus because he is the one that jailed Zovaal. So here comes the actual theory. Let's assume that this threat, what is to come, the mega villain, revealed himself some ages ago, and Denatrius, Zovaal, and Primus were in on this. Now, you might be thinking, why them, why not the other Eternal Ones? Zovaal, because he was the arbiter and he examined minds of souls, every soul that passed through. Denatrius, because he had his agents across the universe, and Primus, because he is in charge of the defense of the realm, so he knows all about security threats to the Shadowlands. Now, Primus, as the warmonger type, the guy that has a realm that is all about constant chaos and is all about battle, decides to conquer the universe in order to get it under the rule of death as the only way to unite it for what is to come. You know, the entire, if all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail, and just using offense as a strategy for defense. Well, Denatrius agrees with this, but Zovaal is against it for some reason. This is that flashback that we had seen in the final cinematic where every character is shown, but only Primus is a shadow, and he tells him that a divided cosmos can't survive, meaning he didn't believe in Primus's offensive plan to divide and conquer. And now here's the thing, Primus invented domination. He was the one that carved the runes into the skin of Zovaal. Keep in mind in that flashback there are no runes on Zovaal, and he seemingly has a much softer approach than his usual villain self that is all about this deep voice and villain lines. This means that this could have been the actual Zovaal that since that point was carved and has just been a pawn of Primus. Now, as I said, for some reason Zovaal is against this plan. Everyone except the Denatrius would be too. So Primus, in order to not spark a crazy civil war and to further weaken the Shadowlands, decides to frame it all on Zovaal, get rid of one opponent, and then do the entire plan through a new pawn he would dominate through the runes that he had created. This here also explained why the Denatrius told him in that flashback, essentially, you could have chosen another way and worked with us, but you just done goofed and decided to rebel and do all this crazy stuff. So Primus and the Denatrius continue on their plan after this. Zovaal is framed as this big villain, everyone hates him, which could be that famous betrayal that he was constantly on about. Here is where it gets super interesting. We know Denatrius and his agents have been behind so many things, from Sargeras to the Lich King. Well, Denatrius was the Secret Service, the assassins, while Primus was the army. His Dreadlords failed one infiltration and the Light invaded the Shadowlands, in this particular occasion Revendred. However, remember when the Void invaded both Bastion and Maldraxxus also fought the Burning Legion? We had entire quest lines about this, yet it was never explained and it never actually amounted to anything. What if, just like how the Denatrius provoked a conflict with the Light, Primus was the one that provoked a conflict with the Legion and the Void, which led to these massive invasions that were all about survival, and they were just reprisals of their own. So they have been at this for ages, but recently it was time to get the plan to its final conclusion, which is how everything falls into place with the recent events. Keep in mind, Primus invented domination magic, carved runes into Zovaal, and was his jailer. This is a guy that apparently loses only when he can see advantage to loss, so would he really be so dumb to just go alone to Torghast, get captured, and just get completely wrecked by Zovaal? This could have been a ruse all along. I know it is very contradictory, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. This might have been the use of his ability to find the best case scenario and to predict the future. He would hide in plain sight, frame everything on Zovaal, and then join us as the good guy while now leading the narrative and just pretty much directing us what to do. Think about it. Runecarver is this pathetic looking creature. He works with us, helps us, we free him, and he joins us later on. No way would we suspect that he is the mastermind behind all of this. However, Venari, our broker ally, advises us not to trust anyone that is imprisoned in Torghast. So Primus wiped out his memory, left messages for us, and got us to, in a really dumb way, bring his sigil right to him in Torghast, and apparently he is so pissed off as Zovaal got it, oh no, even though he has been controlling him the entire time and he pretty much directed this. He then leads us into Zereth Mortis, but oh no, Dreadlords suddenly attack, his allies, and he then forges a crown, which looks eerily similar to that leaked concept art of the actual jailer. Now, Primus leads us into learning more about domination magic, like how to counter it, which could just be us finding weak spots so that he could strengthen them later on, and then we defeat the jailer, as you all have seen. Now, super interesting bit is when Zovaal is defeated, his transition is quite similar to Anduin being freed from domination magic, meaning this might have been him finally broken from Primus's grip. And now we defeated one of his opponents, while he learned a bunch more about magic, got into the first one's secrets, and Primus and Denatrius are still around and we actually trust Primus. From this point, it is hard to say what could actually happen next. So here is the interesting conclusion. If you look at the statue of Primus in Maldraxxus, he looks like a skeleton looking villain, very scary looking. He is the leader of a realm that is all about death, war, plague, deception, yet he appears as this bearded figure that is all about saving the Shadowlands and is quite relatively tame. Primus was the one that first gave us that hint that he must not reach the sepulchre or all will be undone. So has this guy literally been leading us on from the start of the expansion? Primus may not be the true villain, the mega villain, the what is to come, but he could be the actual jailer, and maybe the original jailer concept was never scrapped, it was just pretty much a distraction. Honestly, to me personally, this sounds like a really great theory. Not master level writing, but it could totally make more sense out of this entire Shadowlands storyline, and it could be a good way to salvage the lore as we have it right now. Then again, it is entirely possible that Primus was the shadow in that cinematic because Blizzard, just cut corners and they didn't want to build a new high quality CGI model while they could reuse the eternal ones from other cinematics, which unfortunately might be the actual case on what is actually going on. However, we can hope that this jailer's ending might not be all there is to this jailer villain and the entire Shadowlands storyline. Thank you for watching. Check out his donations confirmed for the next expansion by clicking on the screen, and check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.